Welcome, curious souls, to the Macabre Emporium, your sanctuary for the unusual, the mysterious, and the appalling.
Step through our cryptic doorway into a world where secrets whisper and enigmas come to life.
I'm David.
And I'm Sarah.
Together, we're your custodians of the macabre, guiding you through tales that defy the ordinary.
Discover the untold stories, from lesser-known cases of true crime to the bizarre events that captivate us.
Join us on a journey to the shadows where the mainstream fades and the extraordinary beckons.
So whether you seek the bizarre, the eerie, or the chillingly obscure,
you're in for a treat here at Macabre Emporium.
Welcome back to Macabre Emporium. This is episode 43.
And if this is your first time joining us, welcome.
Welcome.
So, what the fuck was that?
The water puddle? Why so scared?
I don't know. So, we went to Spirit Halloween finally this October.
We did. Took long enough. Although, here, it takes Spirit Halloween for fucking ever to show up.
Because Indiana's a fucking Christmas state, unfortunately.
Like, back where I lived, that thing was open, like, the beginning of September. Here, you have to wait until, like, the first week in October for it to show up.
If you're lucky.
Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah.
But anyways.
I mean, well, let's see. What do we always go for at Spirit Halloween? Other go see the animatronics that we're never going to buy.
I like to look at the home decoration stuff.
Right. You mean home decor in general?
Well,
for
yeah.
us?
Yeah, just normal decor. We usually wind up walking away with coffee mugs, or at least I do. But we have enough of those.
Yeah. Eventually that whole cabinet's not going to be anything but, like...
creepy hoffy cugs. Yep, creepy hoffy cugs. We're just, fuck it. Coffee mugs.
Did you just say coffee hugs?
Hoffy cugs. I don't, just leave me alone.
All right. Say so.
But yeah, I know we've got mugs in there we can throw away.
They didn't have any new trick-or-treat ones that I didn't have already. I wanted the bobblehead, but I wasn't paying that much for that fucking bobblehead.
But it was cast iron.
It was
No.
Cast resin.
Cast resin.
I know it's expensive, but still I'm sure I can find one just as good.
It was cool as fuck.
I'm sure. It has
Lugosi says hello.
Yeah. Now eventually, hopefully, your emotional support cat might make an appearance one of these days.
But for now, thanks to Spirit Halloween, I've got my new emotional support blanket.
Mm-hmm. But what is on your emotional support blanket?
Universal monsters. All of them. All of them monsters. I love it. It's so soft and fuzzy, and it's black and white, and Lugosi, you're so sticky.
Well, now that Mr. Sticky Paws has finally got off the counter here.
Yeah.
So what are we doing next week again? I forget.
So this coming weekend, we are going with one of my sisters, and I'm just going to call him brother-in-law because at this point he is.
Right.
To see the 100th anniversary of the original Nosferatu. We're seeing it in theater. Well, not in theaters, but
in
a theater. And there will be a pipe organist playing along with it.
Oh, so the way it was intendedly be shown.
Yeah, the way it was intended to be seen.
Maybe
so that will be
some spookies while we're there.
I've heard that place is supposed to be haunted.
Oh, imagine that. Of course it is.
So, I mean, maybe. We'll see. But yeah, that'll be fun. And then, hopefully, Monster Pizza for dinner.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that place.
Yeah, but yeah, I'm excited for that.
Right.
Get to leave work a little bit early on Friday.
That's always good.
Get to hang out with you for a little longer on Friday. Always good.
Yeah.
Since your work schedule's been fucking bananas.
Yeah, I'm sure it always will be for all eternity.
Great.
But anyway.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm excited.
So maybe if we get some extra time, maybe stop at Bell Mansion.
Yeah.
Because we'll be closer to, as the theory of the veil being thinner.
Oh.
You never heard of that before?
Yeah, of course I have.
Okay.
Do they do the tours on the weekend?
Yes, they do. Every Saturday in October, they do $25 flashlight tours. Start one at 4 and one at 7 for $25 a person.
Wouldn't need to do the one at 4 because it'd still be daylight out.
Right.
Maybe the one at 7.
Yeah, because you never saw the third floor. Like, got a tour of the third floor or even seen
No.
it. So,
And now that it's cooler, I think it would be better, easier up there.
right, we'll get the stupid ass Indian summer on fucking Friday. It'll,
Of course.
well, like, oh, here comes Sarah. We're gonna keep her from the third floor again. We're gonna hit 90 on fucking Friday, so it's still hotter than fuck on Saturday up there.
Right. Yeah.
You would have not made it up there. I barely fucking made it up there.
Yeah. It was pretty warm on the second floor. Like, even just, yeah. No, thank you.
And that was early September, so hopefully
Yeah.
it won't be. But who knows? Maybe we'll go if we got time. And of course, we'll let you guys know what happens.
Yeah.
So, with all that said, what do you have for this week of Spooktober or whatever we want to call it?
Ooh, Spooktober. I like it. I have an urban legend.
Okay.
I feel like this whole month I haven't done a true crime one yet. Have I?
don't think you have, which is pretty scary in itself.
That's, yeah, I feel it's weird to me.
It's terrifying.
It's, yeah. Yeah, urban legend about the witch owl lady in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all I'm giving you because I'm
All right.
gonna talk about it in a minute. Anyways, what do you got?
I have kind of going over Taphephobia, the fear of being buried alive, and some of the practices that they would do to prevent that. Well,
Yeah.
not to prevent it, to make sure somebody really was dead. And of course, this is one of those situations that Sarah's waiting to hear because of me.
Laughing.
Yep.
Yeah, and it was a laugh like when you did the fart guy story.
And the thing is, because of the
What was his name? Lalapoufier.
Joseph Pujol, Lepeto, Maine,
Lepeto, Maine.
professional farter.
Lalapoufier. I like that one better. But that's what it is. Lalapoufier.
There's some goofy ass shit in here, which, was serious medical science for its time.
But you couldn't handle it.
No, especially where the one that's like right out the fucking gate.
All right. Well, let me get through mine so that we can get to that because I'm looking forward to that.
All right, so you ready to get started?
Show is.
Oh, but before we get started, and we go see like full assault off the counter again here, apparently.
He like jumped up and fucking tripped. What cat trips? Who are you? Oh my god.
Yeah, since when did you like make mistakes like that jumping around this place, guy?
It had to be the hour and a half that he spent sleeping in the water bottle fucking plastic.
Yeah, making him dumber than he already is from oxygen deprivation to his brain.
Good god.
But anyhow, as I was trying to say, I did order a Sabaton shirt earlier this week
Oh, that's right.
because it was Attack of the Dead Men, so it's like people ask me about it, I can tell them about it, and cross promo Sabaton and podcast.
Yay.
Because I can be like, so if you want to hear more about the Return of the Dead Men, look up this really awesome podcast.
Really awesome podcast.
So I'm sure,
Toot toot.
yeah,
That's our own horn.
I'm not wondering if that would be considered guerrilla marketing, as Kevin likes to call it, since I do all this
Guerrilla marketing.
unconventional ways of doing things. From
Maybe.
local chats and video games and
Yeah.
comment sections on Facebook.
Yeah. Those are, I mean, it's whatever.
Gotta think outside the box, I guess.
Word of mouth is the best way to do it.
Yep. But anyhow,
Yeah.
ready to get started for real now?
Uh-huh.
All right, let's get going.
Okay. Legend states that there was a bruja, or witch, in English, that was executed by the scared townsfolk for practicing black magic. After her death, she was reincarnated into an owl, but she could shapeshift, going between her, human witch form into an owl. But when she was an owl, she retained her human face. With a twist, and I'll get to that later. It said that she came back with a vengeance and sought revenge on everybody that had a hand in her execution. One of the offshoots of that main legend is that any witch can astrally project into any form they wish and retain their face. While they're projecting, their body is lying peacefully and safely in place at home. If Lechuza happens to be killed while in owl form, it's said that their human body will die too. Which, if you think about it, anybody that died at home in their sleep of natural causes could be Lechuza. Because how are they going to know?
Right.
Just like, oh, they died in their sleep? Must have been a witch.
Oh, they're down in their sleep with a fucking witch.
Right. Especially if you believed in that legend.
Right.
Anyways, it's also said that Lechuza made a pact with Satan himself, and he granted her supernatural powers, such as shapeshifting and superhuman strength. She had the ability to grab adults, like full-grown men, with her claws or talons, and fly off with them.
Are we like talking like a regular size owl here, or what?
I'll get to the characteristics soon.
Okay.
Soon. The witch can appear anytime she wishes to and anywhere, but due to reports, it seems they're mostly in Zavala County, Texas, which isn't too far east of Mexico. So, like, the only places that she's ever been seen is Texas and Mexico. That's it. Nowhere else.
Well, that makes sense because Texas was part of Mexico at one point.
Reports also state that she likes to really mess with the people that have had, like, a few too many drinks. So it makes me wonder if they're, like, too drunk and they're just seeing shit, or if they're just drunk enough that they're kind of blurry, their vision's kind of blurry, and they're like, I think I saw blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, who knows?
Or it can be a throwback to, the ghost hoaxing that I did at some point.
Yeah.
And someone's just going around in a giant fucking owl costume fucking with drunk people.
You never know.
There's a furry out there with a vengeance.
My God. Oh, well, fucking possible, I guess. She's also known to go after children who are outside after dark when they should be at home in the safety of their home. Even today, people report seeing her or report experiencing what they believe to be Lechuza. Even driving down the road, numerous people have stated a massive bird-like creature swooping down and flying off into the woods. Most of them also noting that their car batteries die at the same time, which is another thing Lechuza is supposed to be able to do, which is drain batteries like that. Yeah, I don't know.
Which is, a trait of paranormal or supernatural activity, you can say.
Right. Many people believe in this creature's existence. Some claim to have actually seen her, yet there's never been one photo taken of her to even try to prove her existence. So we don't know what she looks like other than the description that I'm about to get to. But in my head, I imagine like a giant gray big bird with a lady's face. That's all I see. Like scrawny little legs, giant feet. I don't know. That's what I see. Also, the reports that I keep talking about, there are none actually reported like to authorities. It's all just word of mouth. So, like all urban legends, they're just trickled down from generation to generation.
Changes over time.
Yeah. Although these have stayed fairly consistent between generations, so.
Yeah, just imagine from years from now, it's going to be about how, like, the owl witch is going to be, like, thicker than shit and, like, has a bunch of fucking cake for a fat ass, basically, or whatever. 'Cause that's probably going to happen at some point.
That owl was thick. 3 Qs. Holy shit, David. Like, that just totally threw me off. Now I can't.
You're welcome.
Big Bird's got a badonk-a-donk. All right.
Big Bird's got so much cake. Oh, my God.
Oh, shit. Through my research, I have gathered that when Lechuza transforms into the owl, it's a white owl, that she stands about 5 to 6 feet tall and has a face of a wise old woman. So even if she's a young witch, she still is, in owl form, has a old woman's face. Don't know why. She has the wingspread of close to 15 feet, so that's a big fucking bird. It's a big bird.
Hey, it's remember the American bald eagle's wingspan is only like 6 to 7 feet.
Yeah, so very, very large bird. She's been compared to a harpy bird, like, you've seen those.
Yeah.
Okay. She's also been compared to banshees and sirens. The latter two use sounds to draw their prey in. Well, so does she. She also has the ability to control weather, which is why most of the time when she's spotted, it's during a thunderstorm.
Oh, how convenient. But anyway.
Because she can control the weather.
Which is that? Because you ever seen a bird fucking fly in severe weather? I never have.
Nope, have not, sir. If you are unfortunate enough to encounter La Lechuza, you can say it almost always means certain death is ahead. Whether the death is your own or a loved one, it's gonna happen. So her go-to maneuver for getting her prey is to perch herself up on a tree. Can you imagine a bird that big trying to perch up on a tree and, like, remain hidden?
No. Because I think the Jersey Devil was the same way, and I believe there might have been a one-story Mothman of the same... Like, in the same manner of, like, perched in a tree or something, or maybe I'm just thinking of something completely different.
Like, that's a huge thing to just be, like, propped up in a tree. Again, you're gonna see that.
I mean, fucking bald eagles, for example.
Right, you'll see that.
Like, you ever see one up close?
No.
Yeah, they're not as small as you fucking think they are.
No, you've shown me videos of them on a boat, though.
Yeah.
And they're, much bigger than I thought they were, but still in person, I'm sure they're much bigger than that. But yeah, just, you're 6 feet. You're over 6 feet.
Yeah.
Your wingspan, not 15 feet.
Right.
You'd have to almost put 3 of you head to toe to get
I get that.
How the fuck do you hide that in a tree? You don't. Okay, you just don't. You just gotta be not looking at the trees, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, she perches in a tree and she starts whistling. But her whistle doesn't sound like you and I whistling. Her whistle sounds like...
The one from American Horror Story. Either way.
No.
If I still heard that, I'm not sticking around to fucking find out.
No. It sounds like a newborn baby crying.
Okay.
So if you're... Any normal person would hear a newborn baby crying, like, you know, not far off from, like, a tree line. What your first thought is going to be, holy shit, somebody had a baby and abandoned it in the trees.
Right.
And you would go to find this baby to, like, save it. That's how she got you. But at that point, when you got close to the tree line or wherever, she would swoop down, dig her talons into you, and fly off to her lair with you. And then make a meal out of you.
Right.
If you had been targeted by her and you somehow managed to escape her, she would follow you to your home and leave scratch marks on your door as a warning that you are indeed hers and she's going to get you at some point.
Wouldn't it just be easier just to go after someone else at that fucking point? Or is it because, oh, you fucking saw me?
Probably more that. I don't know. It's a fucking urban legend.
I know that.
But that would be my guess is you saw me, If you have a dream about La Lechuza, it means that one of your family members is going to die, and soon. So don't dream about her. Just block that shit out.
Don't dream about her. Don't respond to babies crying in the fucking woods. Don't look up at fucking trees.
Correct.
Get yourself some fucking horse blinders so you can just see what's on the fucking road in front of you.
Some horse blinders. Hell yeah.
Shit like
Hit
that.
up the Amish. She cannot be harmed by bullets. And in fact, if you happen to shoot her and she gets hit by a bullet, it kills you instead. So it's like, I'm rubber, you're glue. She's rubber. Don't shoot. Don't shoot her. If you are ever touched by La Lechuza, even if it's just a feather, you will die.
If you fart in her general direction, you're gonna die.
There are ways that you can protect yourself.
Yeah, like I said, don't answer baby cries in the fucking woods. Don't look in trees, and don't fuck around and find out, I guess. I don't know.
Don't fuck around and find out. That is correct. Just don't. Don't be in Texas. Don't be in Mexico.
Yeah, there you
Simple
go.
as that. She can be repelled with salt, so typical salt ring around the house.
Yeah.
She can be driven away by yelling loudly and cussing. So,
Well, you got that part covered.
fair enough.
I'm sure there's a couple people out there that's actually made you like, yup.
I don't know what you're talking about. But if those things fail, you can try hanging a rope with 7 knots outside of your door. I tried to find out what the 7 knots represented. Found nothing. You can get a curandera, which is a good witch, to come and help you. But again, found nothing. It doesn't say what they're supposed to come and help you with. Nothing.
It's quite simple. Good versus evil.
Oh, you know what? I'm stupid and you could be right. I read that throwing...
Well, all right then. I was just throwing that out there, but wasn't expecting sass back on it.
I didn't think of that. Good verse. I just legitimately didn't think of that.
There was one other episode you were like that, and you were like, "Fucking son of a bitch! Are you serious?" I don't remember what it was. Somebody might remember.
I don't know. I read that throwing chili powder at her works too. I don't know. Maybe burns the old eye holes. I'm not sure. You can say Hail Mary backwards in Spanish and she'll fly off. Although I feel like that's probably not the right thing to do.
No, probably not.
But they say if you do any of these things that they have to be done in order, with the exception of number one. Number one, it always has to be done, regardless. And it wasn't listed above. So if you're ever being attacked by Lechuza, number one, pray. Number two, hang the rope of 7 knots outside your door. 3, get a curandera for help. But in this day and age, like, it'd be so easy to make her go away.
Oh, yeah.
All I gotta do is yell at her, and she'll go away.
Yeah.
Like, that's it. Yell at her, and she goes away. Do you know how many angry motherfuckers there are in this world?
Oh, I know. She's probably like fucking starving to death at this fucking point. You're like, bitch, I don't got enough time or patience or fucking energy to deal with your fucking ass right now.
Right.
Giant ass wang flappy bitch. Get the fuck out of here. I gotta fucking work tomorrow. Keeping me up.
Did you call her a white flappy bitch?
No, white flappy wing bitch or something. I don't remember what it was, but it did not say that.
White flappy bitch. No, it was hilarious. That's what I thought you said. I said flappy, you know, because wings.
Yeah.
That's all I got.
All right, that was an interesting. I think I might have heard a ghost story based off of that.
I know there's movies
or
based
a
off
listener
of it.
tale from another podcast that I used to listen to about that. I remember some of the details about their dad hitting like an owl, and he wouldn't slow down for anything, and then explained to him later in life of that's what it was. It was like that, it wasn't a person. That wasn't a bird that I just hit, and he just kept on driving basically.
It was Big Bird's satanic auntie. You're welcome. Case closed. I'm ready to hear about the dead people and that are not quite dead. Let's do this.
Hold on. Taphephobia is the fear of being buried alive, coming from the Greek word taphos, meaning grave or tomb, and phobos, meaning fear. Even with modern medicine, people still have a fear of being buried alive. Might seem a bit ridiculous to have now, but in our past it was a much bigger fear people had than today. The fear of being buried alive could be said to have started either in the 17th or 18th century, with medicine not as advanced as it is today, like x-rays, EKGs, stuff like that, caused people to be buried alive because of a misdiagnosis.
Yeah.
One of these well-documented cases of such a misdiagnosis happens in 1695. Marjorie McCall of Ireland would fall ill with a fever and be pronounced dead, and to keep the rest of the village from becoming ill with her sickness, was buried quickly instead of having a wake as families traditionally did after a loved one had passed. Do you know why they call it a wake?
A wake?
Yep.
Is this a joke?
No, this is actually a serious thing. And
okay, the look on your face, I was like, this is going to be a fucking dad joke.
Because it's so fucking simple.
No?
It basically was to watch over the body to make sure they weren't actually fucking dead and see if they would wake up.
Oh. But wakes usually aren't done with the body around anymore.
Right.
Wakes are usually done like after the funeral and stuff.
But that's what they originally were for.
Huh. Oh, I had no idea.
Soon after her burial, word got out about a gold ring she was buried with, and grave robbers would soon be at her grave to retrieve this ring, even before the dirt of her grave could settle. After unearthing Marjorie McCall, they found her body to still be warm, and taking their knife to cut off her finger to get to the ring, Marjorie would soon suddenly sit upright, screaming like a banshee from the pain of her nearly severed finger. What happened to the grave robbers is unsure. It is said one dropped dead from fright, along with that they both ran away in fear.
Yeah, shit, I would.
Her husband John would be at home with their children and relatives when a knock on the door would come in the middle of the night. John would say, "If your mother was still alive, I'd swear that was her knock." Sure enough, as he opened the door, he would find his wife Marjorie still dressed in her funeral clothes and with a nearly severed finger. Since wedding vows are until death do us part, Marjorie would go on to remarry and have several more children until her actual death. On her headstone that you can still visit today has the inscription of "Lived once, buried twice."
Oh, that's fucked.
And I do have another example of something very similar to this, but not really of an illness. In 17th century England, it was documented that a woman by the name of Alice Blunden was buried alive. As the story goes, she was knocked out after having imbibed a large quantity of poppy tea that a doctor holding a mirror to her nose and mouth pronounced her dead. This tea was made from dried unwashed seeds and pods, which would have been contaminated with morphine, codeine, and witcher sedatives. Her family quickly made arrangements for her burial, but 2 days later she was laid in the ground, children playing near her gravesite heard noises. Their schoolmaster went to check the gravesite for himself. He found the Blunden was still alive, but it took another day to exhume her. She was so close to death that she returned to her grave, where a guard stood by before deserting his post. The next morning she was found dead, but only after struggling to free herself once more.
Damn.
Now, they believe that the first one is more lore than anything else, but Irish historians actually do find it to be true because of how many accounts of this tale have been told, and they are very similar in the tellings, just different variations. Like, one telling us her husband dropped dead opening the door, and then, even though it's not physically possible, his hair turning stark white immediately from seeing his dead wife. I
mean, that would be pretty fucking shocking.
Yeah. Even though these two tales are said to be true, in 1745, English physician Richard Mead recommended using tobacco smoke enemas to revive drowning victims. It was believed that the stimulants and the warming effect from the smoke could revive those who have drowned. That following year, his name would be attached to one of the most well-documented cases of this type of resuscitation. On the advice of a passing sailor, he and the sailor would save the life of a drowning woman by sticking the stem of his pipe up her rectum, covering the bowl section where the tobacco sits with perforated paper, and then blowing hard through the bowl, which would revive her. Even though over in France, surgeon Antoine Louis, which also invented the guillotine, which is odd for a doctor to invent such a thing,
gosh, yeah,
would propose, using tobacco smoke up the rears of the deceased to awaken them years later in France. By 1774, tobacco smoke enema kits were installed along the River Thames by the Institution for Affording Immediate Relief to Persons Apparently Dead from Drowning. That is actually that institution's full fucking name.
Tobacco smoke enemas. Mm-hmm. This has to be what you were laughing at.
Yes, it was. But also with these kits, they also did come up with a rhyme for people to use these tobacco smoke enemas to revive people that have drowned. Tobacco glyster, breathe and bleed. Keep warm and rub till you succeed. And spare no pains for what you do. May one day be repaid to you.
Jesus Christ. So wait. You're drowned, right? Mm-hmm. How the fuck does tobacco smoke in your asshole revive you?
That I cannot find an answer. Like, the look on Sarah's face right now.
I'm fucking stupefied.
Yeah.
You're drowned. How?
And it could be just a case of dumb luck with them blowing the smoke up her ass, basically.
Also, how the fuck did they find this out? Who was the first unlucky bastard to be like, we're gonna stick this pipe up your ass and blow smoke?
Well, since tobacco wasn't, native to Europe and everything, they, in the New World when Christopher Columbus, invaded basically America. I'm not changing what I'm fucking saying because that's basically what really fucking happened. But anyhow, that's when, they would learn from the indigenous people that how they use tobacco as a healing process for like stomach pains and various other things. So I guess trial and error is like, oh, what happens if we stick this up the butt, you know?
I don't know, but I have never once in my entire life put anything in my ass to be like, hey, let's see what happens.
Right?
Just, it never once crossed my mind.
Well, you know, thankfully we live now in the times that we do, and not then, where it's like, oh, hey, we're going to try this new procedure, okay? And then just, whoop, just tube up your butt and smoke being blown out your ass. Now just think if Lepetta Main got involved in this shit.
Oh my god, he'd be blowing smoke rings and everything.
Well, I mean, he did for his act anyhow.
Did he?
Oh, yeah, remember he smoked a cigarette with his butt for his part
Oh
of his
shit,
act?
yeah, that's right.
But I'm talking about being on the helping end with using his ability to blow smoke, you know.
Ugh.
It's just now a weird image in my fucking head. Him bent over, hands on knees.
Tube to tube.
Yep. Some weird ass fucking human centipede thing almost going on with the tube instead of an extra person in the middle.
Cat dog. And now that this is gone way the fuck off course, let's get back on.
All right. So by the 1780s, Jules Antoine, no relation to Louis that I can find. He was a French clergyman who would go on to invent pièce mamelon or nipple pincher. Pièce mamelon was a strong pair of pliers designed to shock the alleged dead back to life by clamping down on their nipples with these pliers after he had learned, after hearing the methods of yanking and pulling on the tongue of the dead to see if they would awaken by stimulating the tongue up to 3 hours.
3 hours.
Yeah.
That's torture.
Well, if they're actually fucking dead, they're not going to know any better.
Oh, that's true.
Some of the other things that they did do with the tongue was to pour urine in the mouth, strong alcohols, anything that could cause a shock to the tongue to see if they would wake him up.
Yeah.
The first recorded version of the safety coffin was constructed on the orders of Duke Ferdinand of Brunswick before his death in 1792. He had a window installed to allow light in, an air tube to provide a supply of fresh air, and instead of having the lid nailed down, he would have a lock fitted. In a special pocket of his shroud, he had 2 keys, one for the coffin lid and second for the tomb door. And then by 1822, a doctor by the name of Adolf Gustman would actually be buried alive several times to demonstrate the safety of a safety coffin of his own design because people were skeptical of it. Mm-hmm. And to prove that his coffin was actually safe for living people to inhabit, I guess you could say, because, you know, you're buried alive and you wake up. So for his demonstration, he ate several meals over several hours from being fed to him through this tube while he's still buried alive in there to prove that it's actually still safe for somebody to be in there. So he would eat meals of soup, bratwurst, marzipan, sauerkraut, spätzle, beer, and for dessert, I could not say it. I tried pronouncing the name, but it was basically cake.
Okay.
Is what it came out to be. I swear, because if I would have mispronounced that word, I fucking, like, Cthulhu would have fucking appeared in our fucking house or some shit. But even before protocols were created in 1898, 100 years before, one of these methods was used to really make sure someone was actually dead and not in some trance-like state. They would lay out the corpse on a slab or inside of a wooden box with a glass pane placed over the body. And on the painted glass, they would write in silver nitrate a message that would be invisible until the hydrogen sulfide gas produced from during decomposition would react with the silver nitrate, revealing the hidden message, "I am dead."
Oh, I mean, smart. But if they're already decaying, you're probably going to see that before,
right?
You know?
And that was one of the other things that did come up, was how mortuaries were actually basically a health facility to watch decomposition to make sure people were dead. Like, they had nurses on staff to observe people's bodies fucking decomposing.
That's crazy.
And they would actually deliver flowers delivered there to help keep the smell down. So that's probably where flowers became synonymous with funerals.
It probably took a lot of flowers.
Oh, I'm sure. One of these days, I'm going to have to do a full episode on origins of traditional funeral things, like the flowers and, you know, the candles, all the whole...
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Bang, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
During the 1820s in Germany, they used portable death chambers, which were to be used to prevent premature burials. A small chamber equipped with a bell for signaling and a window for viewing the body was constructed over an empty grave. Watchmen would check each day for signs of life or decomposition in each of the chambers. If the bell was rung by the body, so the watchman could immediately remove what was thought was dead is now actually alive. But if the watchman observed signs of putrefaction in the corpse, a door in the floor of the chamber would be opened and the body would drop down into the grave. The panel then could be slid in to cover the grave. The chamber would be removed and reused again.
Huh.
In 1829, Dr. Johann Gottfried Herberger designed a system using a bell that would alert the cemetery night watchman. The corpse would have strings attached to his hands, his head, and his feet. A housing around the bell above ground would prevent it from ringing accidentally or somebody, coming around hitting it or some shit. And an improvement over previous designs, the housing prevented rainwater from running down the tube, and netting prevented insects from entering the coffin. So, like, there's still the breathing tube and the bell and all the stuff in this little box over top, basically. If the bell rang, the watchman had to insert a second tube and pump air into the coffin with bellows to allow the occupant to survive until the casket could be dug up. The only problem with this is that the body would actually start to bloat from all the gases building up inside the body and could still ring the bell no matter what.
Right.
So just imagine you're, this night watchman, you hear this bell ring, you go over there to go save the day, and then surprise, it's just a bloated corpse inside.
I mean, you'd know pretty quick if you're blowing air down there that it would come out that other tube. You'd smell it.
Right.
So we're not going to dig that one back up.
Right. But the fear of being buried alive peaked in the late 19th century in 1896. The British Medical Journal published protocols to doctors to prevent premature burial. It's a small list of protocols suggested to doctors following when making their house calls to make sure someone is actually dead. So the first thing is, now this was in their ordering, so because most men were doctors in these times. So okay. I wrote it out the way as it was written in this list.
Okay.
He has made one or more incisions in the arteries of the deceased and that no blood has flowed therefrom. So basically cut all the major arteries and see if blood starts flowing out or it starts pumping out.
Which will happen even after you're dead.
True, but if somebody's fucking not dead, you're going to start screaming in fucking pain.
Right.
You would think, go back to the first two stories, you have one lady who's like, heart was basically slowed down to a point where they thought she was fucking dead. Number 2. That he has held the hand of the deceased and the fingers thereof entirely open and the fingers closed together not more than 5 inches from the flame of a lighted candle, gas lamp, or an electric jet, and that no transparent appearance has been visible.
Okay, but what if they're, like, paralyzed from the neck down?
I don't know.
Clearly they're not going to move. They're not going to feel anything.
Well, I think this is more or less to see, like, about rigor mortis, maybe. I don't know. But paralyzation like that, probably people didn't live very long at that point. But who knows? Number 3. That he has held a mirror, glass, or a crystal before the lips and nostril of the deceased at a distance therefrom, or of not more than half an inch, and that no moisture or signs of moisture have appeared on the said mirror, glass, or crystal. Number 4. He has twice or oftener, their wording.
Oftener?
Yep, they kept getting fucking flagged. I'm like, no, I'm reading it the way it was fucking written. Like, this was actually fucking printed that way, oftener. Ugh. Applied to the skin of the deceased a piece of iron or steel heated red hot for at least the space of 10 seconds, and that no blister charged with water that the iron or steel was placed. So basically, they're saying burn the body with a piece of fucking metal to see if they respond to it.
Jesus.
And number 5, that he has examined the eyes of the deceased and has found mucus and no mucus covering them.
Ugh.
So, but in the American side of things, the writings of Edgar Allan Poe would actually sensationalize being buried alive with his short stories The Black Cat, The Cask of Amontillado, and The Fall of the House of Usher, and The Premature Burial.
Which I'm super excited about. That just dropped on Netflix yesterday. The Fall of the House of Usher.
Yeah. I keep seeing things about it, but I no attention to it.
Yeah.
So, didn't know that was based off that.
Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm assuming it is by the name.
Yeah.
Okay, but anyhow.
Yeah.
One English woman named Hannah Beswick was so scared of being buried alive that she left her entire estate to her doctor, Charles White. Her only stipulation was that he had to check on her corpse every day until he was absolutely sure she was dead. He would end up keeping her mummified remains, and every day for years, he and 2 witnesses would still check to make sure she was still dead. With so many people having a fear of being buried alive, many inventors would come up with various ways to signal to the living that the interred aren't really dead, which we covered some of those already. Franz Vester of Newark, New Jersey invented the safety coffin in 1868. In his design, the coffin came with a ladder for those who were buried alive could climb up out of their grave through a hatch above ground. If they were too weak to climb up said ladder, they could ring a bell to bring the attention to those around or the night watchman. John Kirchbaum would go on to create a device that would indicate people were alive but not allow them to escape on their own. His invention would have a T-shaped handle pipe near or in the hands of the buried. This pipe not only allowed fresh air into the coffin, but this pipe would be attached to a rotating scale as it was described on ground level. The scale was used to measure any movement from those inside that might be buried. In his patent, he did include, after a sufficient amount of time has passed, the device can be removed. I don't know how much is a sufficient amount of time to make sure, oh yeah, they're dead.
I don't know.
These are just two examples of safety coffins, plus the other ones that I did, because a lot of them were just the same thing, just different bells or whatnot. But some of the other variations that did vary, that still were included into, ventilation tubes and such. One was having a mechanical fan for fresh air be forced in instead of it just being a straight tube.
Yeah.
Like I said, various bells and alarm types of all sorts, and a small warmer similar to a wax burner to burn disinfectants to clean the air for the buried as it came into the coffin, which probably would have killed them breathing that shit in.
Probably, yeah. I would, yeah.
Some of the things that did come up as well for extra precautions to make sure that people were dead was to put like a small vial of chloroform inside, to off gas inside to make sure they were dead, and using, euthanasia techniques to do the same thing as well of those that were already dead,
Double killing them.
Yeah, going in for the double kill.
Damn. They were ruthless back then.
Yeah, well, that's a lot of the weird shit that they did. Cutting arteries, decapitations were one thing too. Yep.
Decapitations?
Yep.
They cut your fucking head off to make sure you were dead?
Yep. I'm getting the shock slow blink for those.
God.
For everybody, because you can't see us. Modern practices of embalming started to put an end to the fear of being buried alive. And also stop body snatching too from happening.
Yeah.
But there is one photo that did come up quite a bit from Popular Mechanics magazine, and I couldn't find a whole lot of information on this.
From Popular Mechanics?
Yeah, they cover all sorts of shit.
Do they? Oh, okay.
At least they used to.
Okay.
But it was like a lineup of 4 to 5 vaults, maybe 6. With these velvet-lined vaults with handles on the inside of the door so those that were inside could open them if they were buried alive.
Huh.
But there is one grave worth mentioning of somebody that suffered from fear of being buried alive, and that's of Timothy Clark Smith of Vermont. Timothy Clark Smith was a doctor in the 19th century who had a fear of being buried alive and designed his own tomb to have a set of stairs under a capstone to escape if he was able to find himself still alive in his grave. Along with that, a 14-inch by 14-inch window over his coffin so people could look down and check on him and see if he was alive or still dead. But today you can still go down, you can still visit Vermont and see his grave, but you can only see down a couple inches due to moisture collecting on the glass and the age of the glass on the window, so it's like fogged over basically.
Yeah.
Even though some people have claimed they have seen a hammer and chisel laying nearby and a bell in his hand to alert anyone nearby that he was still alive as well too.
Huh.
Even as late as 2015, a patent for a safety coffin has been filed, but I wasn't risking the link that came up with it since Google flagged it to be an unsafe
Yeah,
link.
I wouldn't have either.
Even though it was I looked up what the website was. It was for like looking up US patents and whatnot, but it wasn't like an official link, so I wasn't taking the risk.
Yeah.
So my best guess is it's just the same design with modern technology. So like probably like a siren, flashing lights.
Probably.
Some kind of
The
cellular telephone or some sort to be able to call out that, hey, I've been buried alive, somebody come get me out of here. But before we finish this, some notable people that were afraid of being buried alive.
Okay.
So something kind of along the lines of fun facts, even though I haven't done it fucking forever.
This is true.
First president of the United States, George Washington. He told his secretary, I am just going, have me decently buried, and do not let my body be put into the vault in less than 3 days after I am dead, even though that was like standard funeral practices for the time. Hans Christian Andersen, in his final days, would beg his friend Dorothea Michelor to cut his veins after he breathed his last breath.
Okay.
So yeah, going in for the ultimate kill, I guess you could say.
I guess. Shit.
Composer from Poland, Frederick Chopin, in his last written message, "The earth is suffocating. Swear to make them cut me open so I won't be buried alive."
Eef.
Alfred Nobel, the inventor of dynamite, and, just a small award that's named after him. Nothing too major.
Yeah.
In his will, he wrote, "It is my express wish that following my death, my veins shall be opened, and when this has been done, and competent doctors have confirmed clear signs of death, my remains shall be cremated in a so-called crematorium." So it doesn't matter what walk of life you're from, you can have this fear.
Yeah.
I tried to look to see how much of a percentage of the population of the United States today has this fear. I couldn't find it, unfortunately.
It's probably not as big of a fear now.
Right. There's like small spaces. Claustrophobia is a big one, so maybe they go hand in hand. I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit on Taphephobia and ways they check you out to see if you are still alive or actually dead.
I don't know.
In some ways to prevent it.
I feel like if you think I'm dead and I'm showing you I'm dead, please don't cut my ass open. Don't fucking behead me.
Right.
Just fucking let me be.
Well, I don't think... Yeah, well, obviously with advances in technology and science, that's no longer the case anymore.
I don't know.
And the weird thing is, a lot of this shit happened in the, the era of when the stethoscope was fucking invented.
Yeah, but I say I don't know because there was that story out of Detroit a few years ago with the girl that had some type of intellectual or developmental disability. I don't remember which one it was. But an ambulance came. They pronounced her dead. She was laying on a slab in a fucking drawer.
Right.
And they pulled her out and found her breathing.
Yeah.
So no, professionals don't always get that shit right.
Right,
So,
I understand that. But I'm just saying, even within when the stethoscope was invented, that they were still doing these wacky ass shit, not checking for,
heartbeat.
Right. I'm not wondering if that's not what happened in Detroit. They didn't check vital signs and just
I don't know.
shitty fucking paramedics or whatever. They're just like, yep, she's fucking dead.
I don't know. But yeah.
Because anytime that we were on a run to where it was, clearly, yes, they're fucking dead or whatever, but still, if it was quite obvious with decomposition. But if they were, even with protocols, they would still check with EKG, heart monitors, and whatnot. Unless it was blatantly obvious that they were.
Yeah.
Because there's been a few times when working station we called just, basically to go check that.
Anyways, that was interesting.
Yeah.
People back then were, just terrified of everything.
Yeah. Well, with the story of the Irish woman, you gotta think the common cold now is basically a fucking plague to them.
That's true. Unless you're a man, then it's definitely the plague now.
Yeah, okay.
It took you a minute.
No, I was trying to come up with some shot back, but I couldn't come up with anything. So, I think it's in time we close the Emporium up for today's hero. What do you think?
I agree.
So until next time.
Remember to creep it real.
All right, bye.
Bye. Please check out our website at macabreempodcast.com. Join our Facebook group by searching Macabre Emporium. Like and subscribe on YouTube at Macabre Emporium Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Macabre Emporium. And if you have any stories of the paranormal, your local true crime, or weird history that you would want us to look into and possibly do an episode on, email us at macabreemporiumpod@gmail.com. Remember to follow, rate, like, review, and share whenever and wherever you can and help us grow our little baby podcast.